today. Welcome to CoStart's first virtual event. So, CoStart is an organization, currently a newsletter, blog, and podcast helping women break into tech. In today's event, we will be going over how to break into product management and software engineering specifically. We will be talking about our experiences and giving you tips and tricks on how to snag internships and full time positions in product management and software engineering. So let's get started.
Okay, cool. Also, as I mentioned, Zoom chat will be on. Keep sending us questions. So a little bit more about me. As I mentioned, I am currently a student at Carnegie Mellon, and these are some of my experiences from the past. To start off, I actually studied computer science at University of California, Davis, and I got the opportunity to do my first internship in my freshman year in a startup as a UX designer. I was always interested more in terms of the most front end side of computer science and the design aspect. From there, I was able to do a little bit more smaller projects in startups in Davis, actually. So if you guys have questions related to doing projects for university on campus, let me know. I also went to a lot of hackathons, so I was able to build up my skills through that. I can answer a lot of questions about hackathons too. But moving on from that, since I was doing computer science in school, I was interested more on the machine learning, deep learning side through classes I took on campus. And I started doing software engineering internships. So my first software engineering internship was in my sophomore year in a small startup, which was acquired by a bigger company, Delphi. And then my two bigger internships in software engineering were at Tesla and Ripcord. At Ripcord, I worked as a Kleiner Perkins engineering fellow, and that experience kind of changed me completely because I got to see the founder aspects of Silicon Valley and also how to start a company, and got to meet a lot of venture capitalists. So through my software engineering internships, I had a lot of fun coding, working on small startups and big companies. But I kind of realized my real passion lies in product and like the more design side of things, as I mentioned before. So as a new grad, I was looking for software engineering roles, but I also decided to start discovering product management roles. I started reading, cracking the PM interview, all these PM blogs. I already had a design mindset and a background a little bit, so that kind of helped because a lot of PM stuff is having a design way of thinking and being able to come up with features and stuff. So I decided to apply to all the associate product manager roles as a new grad, and I was able to snag the associate product manager role at Visa. I was actually their first APM, which is interesting, and it was a great experience. We were a cohort of 50 people, and I was able to learn a lot about strategy, business, and work on a really cool product called real-time payments at Visa. And that was the defining. That role defined almost, I would say, defined my career trajectory going forward, because now I know for a fact that product is something that I'm really passionate about. I love the business side of things. So I decided to actually take a break from working and come to school here in Carnegie Mellon to learn more about strategy and engineering management. So currently I'm pursuing engineering management at Carnegie Mellon, and will be going back to NVIDIA as a product manager on their deep learning team. So that's a little bit about me. You guys can ask me questions about my experience or anything that I mentioned. But some of the things that I wanted to speak about specific to product management and how to break into it as a new grad, if any of you guys are interested in that, is not even just product management. Shraddha can speak to this as well, even as software engineering. I think the number one thing that people think you need to do to break into any of these roles is to code all the time, or just get like get A pluses in all your classes, or network a lot. You do, I guess, have to do all of those on some degree, but I think the number one thing that I realized that stands out on your resume, or you as a person, is all the side projects that you do. And so starting building side projects, be it like a Chrome extension, or even like a mock-up of an app, or even like writing a blog post on your ideas, helps so much, because the people in the industry, essentially that's all they care about. They care about like how passionate you are about a product, how passionate you are about anything. So while interviewing for Visa, I actually didn't even speak about fintech or payments. I actually spoke about this like machine learning project that I worked on, or like I was telling them about my ed tech app/company that I was building at the time. So it's not really related, but they are able to see your passion/your interest in building something or working on something. So that I think really helps, especially during this time when you're not able to be as when recruiters are not as receptive or internship positions are going down. I think what really helps is to use this time to build these projects and start cultivating like a mindset, a product mindset or a thinking by reading PM blogs and stuff. Because this I cannot stress enough, no matter where you are in your career, especially in tech, you're going to have to keep learning. And something I regret, I'd say, in college was I would pick up projects or start doing projects but not complete it or like keep doing it. Most of the people who I've seen have been really successful in this industry have been like constantly kept working on a specific project or kept owning their skills no matter where they are. So I think that has really helped. And to be honest, there's no secret to breaking into PM. It's all about being really passionate about products. So if you want to be someone who is interested in this career path, you have to have an appreciation for features of products. Keep thinking about ideas almost every day, and read a lot. Because I'd say like one of the biggest things I realized with PM was you have to think about it in the terms of like you're starting a company. So if you know all the things you need to start a company, that is the business aspect, the market, the product, the technology, and how to influence people without actually having real authority, then I think this position is great. Also, I'd like to stress that this position isn't for everyone. I know there's a hype around many positions, the hype goes up and down, but it is a position where you will probably end up spending, I'd say, like 50% of your time in meetings, the next 25 emailing people, and the next 25 actually working with code or design. So it is a lot of meeting with people and thinking high level. So if that's you, then this role is perfect for you. But if you're someone who would rather prefer actually doing the code or the design, then I think software engineering and design is more of a suited role. I realized real quick through my internships that I rather prefer thinking of ideas on a more high level. So I think that's why I was gravitated towards this role. But I mean, I figured that out only through my internship. It's not something that I realized suddenly, or like I realized because everyone was like, PM is like the thing that you should be going towards. So it's something that I came to realization. And the other thing I would say is these internship roles, a lot of people ask me like, how did you get them? How were you able to secure them? So I think that, and I think Mansi and Shraddha will agree, that it is at the end about who you know and not what you know. Of course, you do need to know once you go to the step 2 of the internship process or the interview process, you really need to know your stuff. In tech, everyone is usually smart and they know what they're talking about. So you need to be someone who knows what they're saying. On that note, I would like to stress that who you know matters, because along with forming connections with recruiters, which you guys must have heard many times now, there's many ways to do this in a way that everyone else is not doing. So I'd say some of the tools that have really helped is Jumpstart, which has really come about recently. There's like a lot of AMA options. You can ask recruiters things directly and meet a lot of founders slash people managers in these companies who are looking to hire directly from new grad pool. LinkedIn has helped me because Jumpstart wasn't there when I was in college, so which is literally last year. LinkedIn has really helped because it's also another thing, as I mentioned, with creating a product. You have to do it constantly. You have to message people constantly. But I will agree that especially during this time when people are less receptive to reading your messages, especially with everything going on in the world right now, I'd say resorting to personally emailing people you know really helps, because they either have known you through a class, a project, a hackathon, or someone in your university. I think those are the easiest people you can reach out to at this time. So I'd say capitalize on that. And then when maybe things are looking better, reaching out on a mass basis on LinkedIn has helped me personally. That's how I was able to get my internship at Tesla. I just would reach out, like message like 25 to 50 recruiters per day, and then one recruiter finally responded. So it's not that they don't want to hire you, it's just that sometimes timing doesn't match up. I'd also say reaching out to recruiters at a different time really helps. Like maybe you want a summer position this year. you'd say that, oh my God, it's already too late because it's April. How am I going to get a role? You'd be surprised as to how many people hire till the end of May or till June even. So keep applying and don't stop. And I think that would be my last piece of advice in regards to general recruiting. But if you guys have any questions, I can take that and then I can hand it over to Mansi. Looks like you guys don't. So yeah, Mansi, do you want to go?
Yeah, first I just want to give anyone an opportunity, if you're comfortable asking questions and you want to like raise your voice or ask questions to us directly, like feel free to unmute and ask us. And you can also send your questions in the chat. So yeah, that being said, I'm Mansi. I'm also a co-founder of CoStart. I graduated UC Davis as well in neurobiology and psychology, and I'm now working in tech as a business analyst at a small startup called Fullcast.io. And yeah, that's a lot of information already. I come from a completely non-technical background. I worked in a research lab where I did a lot of data analysis and data visualization for a professor on their project. And I also have nonprofit experience and was kind of in a program manager kind of a role at that nonprofit called Imani Clinic while I was at UC Davis. So how I kind of started out was after, in my senior year of college, I kind of realized that I don't want to go the nonprofit route and I'd like to explore tech. And one of the first things that was told to me was reach out into your personal network and learn about what people are doing in their current roles. So for me, it was mostly like emailing people, setting up time with them, people in my professional network, personal network, friends of friends, people I know who are in roles that I wanted to work in currently, and sending them a simple message about like, hey, I want to explore what your role is about. And if you're willing to spare 15 minutes of your time, I'd love to talk about your experience. So that's kind of how I got to know more about tech and what kind of roles are out there. Like the business analyst role really spoke out to me because there's so many types of business analysts out there. And I currently work on the product team, so I deal with a lot of like product prioritization, like feature development, stuff like that, as well as more on the product marketing side as well. And because I work at a startup, I get to see all sides of the business, including like marketing, ops, sales, pretty much everything. And I was able to pretty much get my hands dirty right from the start. And this is something I actually advise to everyone, like look into startups, look into all Angellist and apply to roles at small companies where you would get the maximum amount of exposure. Because especially for people coming from a non-technical background, you don't want to be stuck in a role that is so siloed and like very limited in terms of like how you can grow. A lot of tech companies are very hierarchical and tenure based in their roles and even in their compensation. So it's very, I think it would really benefit you guys if you look into startups on Angellist or like remote.io, VC job boards, CoStart, our newsletter, and even like reach out to people on LinkedIn, people like friends of friends, old colleagues. And basically what Deb said with regards to the cold messaging as well, like people you'll be surprised that people are actually very receptive and very like willing to help you find your path and talk to you. So with that being said, I'd like to leave it open for questions. If you guys have any, like please send them in the chat. We'd love to answer. And if not, then I can hand it over to Shraddha. All right, go ahead.
Hi, so do we have any questions? Okay. Hi. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Preeti has a question. Yeah, what's up?
Preeti, you can also speak up if you want.
Yeah, go ahead and unmute, or you can type it out.
Hi guys. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for hosting this, and I've really had a cool time like learning about your guys' backgrounds. So I just had a quick question for honestly. So as a business, like working in business analytics, like if you're allowed to talk about what you do at your job, like what are some things you see on a like day-to-day aspect?
Yeah, so business analytics differs per company. Like there are a lot of business analyst roles, business analytics roles at various companies, but at my company, what it means is like analyzing our product data and seeing where most of our engagement is going for our CTO slash VP of product. So that is part of my job, in addition to really getting into the grits of the operational work, like managing our CRM, managing our software development life cycles. Different projects are always running side by side with regards to feature development at startups. So I currently manage the backlog and prioritize features for our engineers to work on. Yeah. So lots, I mean, if you're wondering about tools and like stuff like that, I'm always like getting my hands dirty in Excel. We use Pendo for product analytics, and SQL is your best friend as an analyst. So yeah, those are things that I would recommend you guys like maybe get familiar with in terms of how they work, how to use them, and different business use cases that come up. There are like lots of readings online, like case studies and stuff like that, that you can read and that I can, if you're interested, put in our next newsletter as well to refer to. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was awesome. And I'd be definitely interested in reading more about the resources you mentioned.
Yeah, sure. All right. Thanks for asking.
You.
Hi everyone, I'm Shraddha. I'm a data engineer at Illumio. It's a network security company in Sunnyvale. So in my junior year, I interned here and then last year joined as full-time. I have a very interesting story on how I got this internship. I attend a lot of hackathons, and in one of the things that I do in hackathons is talk to all the company representatives and just like introduce myself, ask them about what they do, ask about internship opportunities, and follow up. And I went to CalHacks, I did the same, and that's where I met Illumio. The key was I followed up with the company representative, and that's how I got the internship. So I think one of the ways you can get internship is networking and going to hackathons, going to conferences, putting yourself out there, and then following up with people you have met. Now, during this COVID, there is a lot of like hiring is affected. So one of my advice would be to make yourself visible on LinkedIn. And how you can do is maybe comment on other posts, like, or post something that you like, something that you expertise in, so that other people have more visibility on your work. Or you can just work on a side projects and talk about it. And other advices, there's a lot of online hackathons and a lot of tech conferences have become online. I would recommend to go and attend these and increase your network right now. This will increase your chances of hiring. Okay. That's all I have.
I also want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to our fourth founder, Amrita. She's on the call, but she's still working, so I'll just give a brief introduction. So Amrita also graduated from UC Davis in a communications major and also minored in writing. And she has a very strong marketing and communications focused background. And most of her experience so far was doing business development for a cybersecurity company. And now she is working as a communications specialist for the city of Sacramento. And yeah, and she's also passionate about helping other women get into the workforce, and was also involved in our business club at Davis. So yeah, quick shout out. If you guys have any questions following for either me, Deb, or Shraddha right now, you guys can feel free to put them in the chat, and we'd love to answer.
Yeah, we'd love to answer questions. Also, we wanted to keep this meeting more of like a conversation based. We can dive into any of the topics that we spoken about more in either another event or through a blog post. So also maybe on the chat, let us know what you would want to learn about more: product management, business analytics, or software engineering. For example, if you want each of us to go into more of like how to interview for each of these positions, we can do that as well. Or if you'd like more of like how to find companies or start your own company, we can do that as well. We can do that in the next few few minutes that we have left in this webinar, or we can send you guys the resources by email, whichever you prefer. Just let us know. If you prefer during this call, then I can either do a poll or just say yes. Okay, so I see yeses, but yes to which one? To online, send you guys through email, or right now? Okay, let's do the first one. Who wants to hear more about these resources right now? I see. Okay, 2 yeses. I'm just gonna, what we can do is we can speak more right now, and we'll email you everything as well. We have a lot of cool links, and I'd say a lot of more links to other talks and events we can put in our next newsletter or email you guys. But the last few minutes were just questions, and I know a lot of you guys send questions by email, so we can go ahead and answer those. I can pull that up here. So Mansi, Amrita, or Shada, if any of you guys want to answer this, go ahead. But I can start with the first one. Someone asked us, finding a summer internship in 2020 has been hard. Yes. Okay. How do you brushing up your soft skills? Okay. So for this one, I would say yes. I mean, we're speaking about our experiences from last year when we weren't going through this, and I agree and I sympathize for all of you. I know it's like a hard time, and it's not the same because a lot of positions have been taken down, or there's a lot less people hiring. So as Shada and Mansi mentioned, especially during this time, I think your best bet would be to reach out more personal connections and networks. And a lot of the times, spamming during these times don't help. So I'd like to tell you guys again, like re-emphasize this by saying Angellist and Jumpstart and some of the more low-key tools help during this time, especially when these tools help you reach the founder directly. So it goes directly to their inbox, so you'd have a higher chance of reaching them or like having a response from them. Do you want to?
I can add to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you want to go ahead first.
Oh yeah, sure. This is like kind of related, but so just like looking for like jobs online for like companies that like interest you. I feel like a lot of them put out like those like online job applications. But like I feel like you fill them out and you never really get a response from them. So I was just wondering like, is that useful? Or and also is like just like sort of like cold like messaging like recruiters on LinkedIn, like is that useful? And like how would you do that? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So I personally struggled through that a lot last year when I was first looking for a job as well. Online job applications are almost always pretty much like a dead end. And I think what really helped me stand out and even applying online and stuff is reaching out into your personal networks. And if you know someone or a friend of friend or anyone, literally anyone, at that company that you want to apply to, like ask for a referral and ask for their time to just like discuss more about the company, more about yourself, so that they would be more willing to like actually offer you a referral. The way I got my first job was through a referral, and I asked someone who worked in the company to just talk for 15 minutes, and it turned into a job offer like 3 weeks later. So it's really about reaching out into your network and really putting yourself out there and explain to them like what really you can contribute and what you have done so far that would be useful in this role, like what would make you a perfect fit. So Devin, Shraddha has something to add.
Another suggestion would be, if you see an online application that interests you or a company that interests you, try to reach out for recruiters of that company on LinkedIn and cold email them so that your application stands out, because all recruiters get lots and lots of resumes. So sometimes it just goes in the backlog. So if you reach out to them, they'll take a second look on your application.
Also, another thing I would like to add is that I think if you're looking to apply from the online, first of all, you should always apply online. If anyone tells you like, don't apply online, just reach out via cold email, that's incorrect. I think a lot of the times I've gotten positions or callbacks just by applying online. So they do see online applications. And if you're able to make yourself stand out through your resume, that always helps too. But as they mentioned, doing both really helps. But I'd say doing both in numbers, like just because you want PM and there's only a few PM positions open, that I think really limits you. You might want to broaden the scope, especially if you're still in school or if you're a new grad especially. So are you still in school by any chance?
Yeah, I'm a first year
Okay.
in college, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That helps because okay, so the way I got my internship positions in my first few years of college was, I think what really helps in that case is working for smaller companies and roles in which they won't be able to find full-time people or more experienced people. So, what is your major?
Computer science.
Okay, so I mean, I was a CS major too, but I realized that getting a software engineering position with the experience that I had wasn't possible at that stage. So what I started doing was applying to like design positions and UI UX slash front end design positions at startups. So that really helped because you're able to stand out in that way by creating a smaller niche for yourself. Also, another way is if are you looking for software engineering positions or anything specific?
I guess I'm more interested in like PM positions.
Okay, yeah. So with PM, I'd say there's a few ways to go into it. You can either go into it as a associate PM. I think those roles are very limited and really hard to snag actually most of the time. But there's a few trick ways to go into it. So either if you're like really passionate about marketing, design, or data, there's those three routes of going into it. So you can become really, especially with the CS major, you can really master like R, Python, and data, and be of that kind of help to a company. So if you know that's your strong suite, then I'd say just go on to Angellist, find a bunch of like companies in the data space or just starting out and just be like, hey, I can scrape websites for you, or like I can do this for you. And I see that you have this role open, but I'm willing to work as an intern, or I'm willing to work sometimes with no salary, but that sometimes is not the most ideal case. But I'd say those are a few ways of going about it as a freshman.
Yeah, I completely agree with Deb. With PM, there's many aspects to it that lead up to the holistic level role that it is. PM encompasses like many sides of the business, including analytics, design, etc., like Deb mentioned. So sometimes that could be your building ladder, and you're only a first year in college, right? So that could be your in, and that could help you build your holistic mindset around product management as well. It really helps.
Also,
So I have
All right, thank you so much.
another suggestion would be that you work on a long-term project with a friend and you do the PM part of it and they can do the technical, or you guys can collaborate. So you, while working on the project, learn the skills for yourself and prepare yourself so that in future year you have something solid on your resume and you will stand out. So you can utilize this summer or your time doing that.
and I really want to stress on that because I can't explain enough how, like in a big company, you'll never end up working on a product or a project end to end. But if you're building something of your own, you'll get to have that end to end experience that you can really speak to during an interview, because that's invaluable. If you're able to speak to like the metrics, the design, the app, and the business or the stakeholder, your customer aspect, then I think that it's almost invaluable. You're not gonna get that at an internship or at a job. Like I can assure you that. So that's that. I think we can move on to our second question. This is more about experiences for a SWE intern role and more interview experiences. Shada, do you want to speak about more how to interview, or like how your interview experience was?
So in terms of skill, I would say like having projects on resume really helps. Firstly, in addition to prepping for the interview, coding interview, which is doing a lot of coding challenges, really understanding the technical software concepts, some software concepts, and then knowing how to do a technical coding interview. Aside from that, working on side projects and having those on your resume help. And we have a lot of resources that we keep sending out regarding technical interviews and how to do it. And if you follow it and have a schedule for yourself and keep interviewing, I think those are some ways you can get software engineering roles and internships. Deb, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think one thing I can add is start as early as possible and use summer for software engineering positions. For me, in my end of second year, I realized how much of preparation that's required for cracking some of the SWE roles at bigger companies. So I think I spent my whole of sophomore summer just practicing interviews. I mean, practicing questions, and we even like used to have sessions where we would sit together and go over cracking the coding interview. It does sound intimidating and it's a lot of work, and essentially a lot of people stop pursuing sweet roles only because of this reason. But I'd like to stress that even though it's a lot of work, it does pay off. And if that's your passion, you shouldn't stop pursuing this role only because the interviews seem hard. So that's one thing I just wanted to put out there. But it is I'd say to crack a Google software engineering position, you didn't have to put in like 3 months of solid work. And I don't think there's a shortcut to this. And the people who seem like they've been coding for a long time and just know it and get it, I think they also just sat down and coded and got it. It wasn't like they were really smart or they just suddenly know how, or just they know how to code from a long time. So don't get intimidated is one thing I'd like to add. We have another question if any of you guys want to answer this. How to make your resume stand out?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think tweaking your resume as per the role you are applying to is really important. Like there are certain keywords that in the job description that really stand out to recruiters. And if you are able to mold your resume and those like experiences that you have listed on your resume to that job description, like include those keywords in your statements on your resume, because that is what the recruiter will see and that's what they're going to relate to on a human level and be able to see that you're more applicable for this position than someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I think you will have to almost be able to create a separate resume for almost every job just to make yourself stand out. Again, it could be a lot of work, but if you have a tool that lets you edit quickly, then I think this can really hack your resume being able to stand out. I hope that helped. If not, you could always you could unmute and like ask us if you have more specific question. Okay, cool. Now the next question we were sent was hard to find a job as an international student, referrals or anything. So I think maybe Shraddha, you can speak to this.
So software engineering, I think it's equally hard for everyone who's applying, and the same process goes for it. I don't have any special recommendation for international students, but I would just say keep applying, keep reaching out to people, and keep interviewing, and that's the key to getting a job.
Okay.
Before we move on, I just want to add to that. As a student, you have the opportunity to attend so many events, and especially like hackathons or networking events, career fairs, stuff like that. So that's where you get to really like get face to face with people who are looking to hire and talk about yourself and get that extra edge and be able to follow up later on as well. Like given Shraddha's story, she reached out to a recruiter at a hackathon and followed up. So it's little steps like that that kind of get you through the door.
And I'd also like to stress, I know during this time, a lot of summer events and conferences have been canceled or moved, but I'd still say one thing that really helps is me and Shraddha have attended a lot of hackathons and conferences together. We went to Grace Hopper last year. And what we realized was more than being able to meet people face to face, because there's so many people during these conferences and they meet so many other students that they almost forget who they meet in 1 hour, forget like the course of the 3 days. One thing that helps is each of these conferences have speakers or lists of people that are speaking or attend that they are able to give you through an app or their website. So going to those websites and seeing who's attending and who the recruiters are and who's hiring and reaching out to those people, because this helps because you already know they're on the radar looking for students. So you know that they will be more responsive. That really helps. So even if events are canceled, I'd say going to these online events and seeing the people who are attending these events and then messaging them could be another hack into bypassing that, especially during these times. Also, I like to add that I know a lot of you guys are looking for roles, and the tools that we mentioned, like LinkedIn, Jumpstart, they're tools that everyone uses. I'd say the last question was how to stand out or find these full-time roles. I think one way that really a lot of people don't speak about is looking at venture capital job boards. We had this in one of our newsletters a few weeks ago. We can send it to you guys again. These job boards of venture capital firms are tailored to smaller companies and companies that are likely to succeed in a few years. So for example, Y Combinator's job board has jobs from their portfolio companies, and these are not available. We won't be able to see these on Indeed LinkedIn or on Google, just because they're very like smaller startups, so they don't have the marketing budget to popularize these jobs on other sites. So going to the, like for example, you go to First Round Capital's website, and then go to their job board. You'll be able to see a lot of specific roles and very tailored to because startups know what they're looking for most of the time. They're looking for very specific roles, and it's not like a very broad-ended role such as software engineering. So that could also help. And there's a lot of new women venture capital funds that have come up that are looking to hire a lot of women. So for you guys, I think that could be a really key way to finding these roles. And these women at these companies are very receptive to other female students or founders messaging them. So I think that could be like the biggest hack you guys have at this time, to messaging those female founders and sharing your story with them and seeing if they can relate and hire you in their startups. Yeah, I think that's the end of the questions we received. Do you guys have any other questions on the chat? Or if not, then I guess we can end this session here. Or we could, if you guys want to speak up and share your guys' story or ask us any questions, we can answer that as well. So let us know.
Deb, I think there's one question in the end. Can you scroll down?
That was
Okay. How would you like how to better prepare yourself for full-time roles? We can probably talk about this. I have one suggestion on this. Reading is really important in terms of software engineering. If you keep reading tech news and keep reading tech talks and learn about different technologies, that really helps you for full-time jobs. This is like once you get a job, and then how to become a better programmer. I think I have one suggestion. And second, there are like a lot of resources on like our newsletter or other newsletters and Hacker News. Keep reading them, and being up to date with the tech world helps you at the job a lot. Deb, do you have anything for PM?
Yeah, I think for Mansi would agree that for PM, most of it is knowing the products out there. And I think with tech, there's a new product that is being released like every day, or something changes every day. So sometimes it can be overwhelming, but subscribing to TechCrunch and a lot of PM blogs, it has insanely helped us, just because it gives you catered articles and news to read. So you're up to date with stuff. You don't have to keep Googling and looking at Hacker News. Another great website is Product Hunt. So if you go on there and you subscribe to their newsletter or on their notifications, you get notifications of apps that are being released. So it's a good way to keep in touch with what's happening, because as a PM, you're going to have to like come up with features and come up with ideas for features, and you have to know the market and the trends. So I agree, keeping up with tech news is of utmost importance. And yeah, the website name is Product Hunt. I can even go there and show if you guys want. But yeah, that's one thing you guys can do to, because especially for PM, I think Mansi, you can speak to this more, that knowing trends helps you create either your own app or the next feature at the company. Without knowing the market landscape, without knowing economic terms or business terms or tech terms, you're not going to be able to persuade people at your company or even your manager to agree to your idea or follow your next step as a PM.
Yeah, totally agree. When it comes to even like product development, like everything is decided by executives from a business standpoint. Like what is their business goals? And that is determined by their go-to-market strategy based on the current tech landscape of like what's going on in the world right now, and what does this company need to be profitable, or how, like depending on the business goals that the CEO has decided or high level management. So familiarizing yourself with the entrepreneurial side of things would really help, and put yourself in that mindset as well. We've linked like many resources in our previous newsletters to help you kind of get your foot in the door, especially with PM and getting yourself into that PM mindset. So feel free to check it out. I'll put in our subscription link here in the chat. Make sure you guys subscribe, and you guys can also send in comments on stuff that you'd like to see. So yeah.
Yeah, and this is quickly like an example. I was talking about a VC firm which has their own job website with specific jobs that you guys can apply to, which you won't find out in other places. But yeah, if you don't have any more questions, then thank you guys for attending this. It hope it helped, and we'll send up a follow-up email with all the links that we mentioned. I think one great ask that we have for you guys, if you could share this link with others who could help, who would find this helpful, that would be great. We are trying to get this to as many people as possible, and we know that there's only a few channels that we can reach you guys, and if you guys share this, that would mean a lot to us. So